So theoretically, you can see me now, hopefully. So hi, thanks for coming to this first live UX audit. I'm super excited for this. I've been wanting to try this for a while now, and I'm really excited to just dive into these sites in real time and just see what happens. Okay, I picked 3 sites from the submitted sites for this month, and I'm going to go through each of those, probably about 15 minutes each, and in the chat, you can feel free to ask any questions you have, and if I see them while I'm going, I'll stop and answer them, but if not, I'll wait till after I finish each audit and answer them. The 3 I'm doing today are Everwise, Well Fits You, and the Scribesmith. So those are 3 that were submitted and have like a bit of a diverse set of design needs and goals. So I'd pick them so that we have 3 different things to look at. The first one is definitely more of like a landing page, trying to funnel people into one specific action. The second one is trying to get more sales and onboarding of clients through books and selling an actual product and then into a service. And then the third one is sort of similar, but trying to get more people into a specific service without necessarily selling a product. So I'm going to dive in and see where it goes. Please feel free to ping me in the chat and I will stop. And if there's anything wrong and you can't hear me or something's off, just also ping me there just so I know what's going on. Unfortunately, this is all happening in one laptop screen, so I can only see so many screens, and I want to make sure that the site I'm auditing gets the biggest view. So let's hope for the best, and here we go into the first one, which is Everwise. Okay, so Everwise was submitted as a landing page with the goal of bringing more people in, or more women into, I guess it's people in general, in to sign up to be a mentor on the Everwise platform. So before I dive into this specifically, one of the things I'm going to say is that I'm taking all of these audits as if I've never seen these sites before or don't even know what these services are. And in most cases, that's true. I tried not to look at any of the sites beforehand because I wanted to have like that fresh perspective and not have spent a ton of time like getting used to it. I want to come in as an actual user and be able to sort of put myself in the user's mindset, which is something that should always do when you're doing an audit. You're not coming in as yourself, as the designer, as the developer, as the owner. You're coming in as the user and trying to understand what their needs are and what their goals are. So with that said, Everwise has a landing page, and from the email I sent, I know that they tested the copy and the photos on it. So I'm just going to give it a quick scroll, a quick glance, and see what's going on here, and then sort of dive into my feedback on it. So what we have here is Celebrate Women's History Month. March is Women's History Month. Give back by mentoring an up-and-coming leader. Sign up with LinkedIn to get started. Big old button. Okay, not signed in. Sign up with email. Why become a mentor? Cool. Okay, so my first impression is like this is your typical landing page, has everything it needs. You know, you have your big catchy headline with the photo, a big button for your CTA, which is awesome. It might even be a little too big in this case because the first thing I see when I land on this page is apply with LinkedIn, and I have no idea why or what's going on. So maybe consider bringing that down. Let's see. Whoops, that's mobile mode. We'll get back to that later. So bringing this down a smidge. It's positioned. Let's just. Okay, this isn't gonna scale well, but something more in this vein. I don't know, 50 pixels, 60. Something that just gives the rest of the text room to breathe might help. That button is really large. It's great to get people to click it, but I feel like maybe that big button could be that size down here. I think this is perfectly acceptable size down here. Up here, I don't know enough about what's going on to be whacked in the face with that button. So that's feedback number 1. Number 2 would be, I think the contrast is a little bit off here. This text that's in black sort of blends in. You have a black and darker photo with a lot of dark points here. Like it works well in, like right around here where the window is nice and white, but because the chair and the woman's hair and even this whole area is a bit shadowed, and here you have the text blending in with this black book, it's not popping enough to really have contrast. I don't know if it would work in white because, again, you have a bit of a range in your photo here, but let's just give that a shot. Well, maybe with a drop shadow it could work. I forgot what the shadow is. There, it is text shadow. Oh, I don't know why that's not working, but it doesn't seem to want to. I know why. Okay, so that's not awesome either, but I think it is a little bit more legible. I think you could definitely afford to have this be even bigger with line height and things like that. These alignments are going to start to get really crazy if I keep messing with this text, because it seems like a lot of it's absolutely positioned. But I think you can do something with some color here, or maybe change the opacity of the background so that this blends in. I don't know if you're using just an image here or something with a filter on it, but if you're just saving the image, maybe make the image darker to begin with. That way you can put white text on it, or lighter to begin with so you can put dark text on it. But either way, it's getting lost here, and I want to make sure that people can read this. Second to that, this is actually what you're looking for here. And I feel like that's totally lost. I love the idea of celebrates Women's History Month. I actually didn't even know that March was Women's History Month. From here, we have, right, we left off here. This line that should definitely be a bit more prominent, I think. I think this whole hierarchy could be tweaked a bit. Like, sign up with LinkedIn to get started could be closer to the button and not part of this headline or subheader. And I think this could definitely be made a little bit clearer. You know, how do I celebrate Women's History Month? I have to read this text that's kind of lost in this background to really get to it. If we can make this bigger and maybe on its own line, that could definitely help. And with this button size smaller, you'll have a bit more space to play with here, so I think that'll help. And one last bit is this link color is tough to read against it too. So this whole area up here could benefit just from some work on the contrast. Let's see what we have. This actually looks like a default like browser link color. It's actually not. It's black. It just looks blue, but hey. And red is definitely not the right option, but you can just see it's easier to read when it's lighter in this particular space. You can probably do without that underline too. I don't know if that's part of the style for the rest of the site and that's why it's here, but that underline is a bit distracting. It's actually a border. I don't know what's causing that underline, but it's there. That's why. Oh, it's gone. Okay, I feel better already. So maybe play with 2 or 3 colors in this area. You know, big headline in one color, your bold thing here, and then maybe like a more meta, lighter gray color. It's all going to depend on how you treat this background image. Again, either go lighter or darker in general, and see if even you can bring down the highlights in the photo, which would fix this white area, and hopefully give you a little bit less of a range of contrast, so that you can see the text better. Okay, let's move on from this top bit here. Apply with LinkedIn, we already talked about that. Make that button a little bit smaller. Why become a mentor? Pay it forward. Learn from others. I think this is cool. I don't know if you're looking for female-specific mentors or male-specific mentors, but these are all guys, so maybe just something to think about there. And I think you could actually afford to make these headlines a little bit bigger compared to the text. You know, you have these really great icons. It could balance the icon a bit more if you just scooch that up a bit. There. Now, I'm trying to, in general, my first thought when I looked at this site was that I could easily scan through this whole site and just see 2 apply with LinkedIn buttons. You know, if I just went from top to bottom, I land on this thing and I go, I wonder what this is, and not read anything yet, but just sort of scan it, I just see 2 giant apply with LinkedIn buttons. So if you can make some bits like this catches your eye, but again, because it's in the same view and it's within like, what, 300 pixels of this giant button, it's getting lost. So just doing some work around, you know, that button going smaller up top will definitely help, and maybe just doing a bit more in these sorts of areas to bring out the value proposition. Okay, so here are what some of our mentors have to say. I think this is great. You have photos here, that helps. And cool. Yeah, I have not much to say here. Looks good. I like that both of these photos are black and white. It gives them nice balance. And how it works. Okay. Initial orientation call. Monthly meetings. Apply with LinkedIn. I'm not going to critique the copy too much because I think you did a lot of work on that already. Based on the email you sent. So I'm just going to talk about the general appearance of it and maybe some of the questions I might have coming into this as someone who wants to be or is considering being a mentor. The first one is, this seems pretty industry agnostic. Like, I don't know, am I qualified to be a mentor? How do I qualify to be a mentor? How many years experience do I need? Should I be a mentor or a mentee? What if I'm interested in being a mentee and somehow I ended up on this page? Is there an alternative for me? How much time does this take? I think for an hour each month. So maybe it takes an hour each month, but I think that's definitely a question busy people who would probably be your ideal mentor would want to answer, is how much time is it going to take? So an hour each month, like somehow make that a little bit clearer. There might be even too many of these here, or I'm not sure, but I feel like a lot of questions aren't quite answered around who's eligible, what's required, and this is how it works and not who's it for. I think that's kind of what I would like to see here. You know, you have if we go down like the usual who, what, where, when, why, you have your why and you have your how. The what's kind of described up here. When, that's actually another good question. Is it just for the month of March, or is this going on forever or for some longer period of time? And the why is covered. So it's the who is missing. And I think that would definitely help maybe after, maybe between these two sections. So get the social proof up high. I think that's definitely helpful. And right after that, okay, this sounds cool. Am I eligible? Throw that in. Oh, good, I'm eligible. What happens now? How it works. And then this apply to LinkedIn button actually feels fine that large down here. It could do with being a little bit smaller, but hey. And just, make this match this up here if you can. And that's kind of it for this first glance. I'm just going to do some clicking around. Okay, so this doesn't link anywhere. So I actually have no idea what Everwise is and why I want to be a mentor through this. I don't know what your ads say or how much context people have when they come here, but I'm pretty sure you mentioned that they'll be coming through from LinkedIn and from Facebook ads or things like that, which likely don't provide a lot of context. So maybe put a section in here about what Everwise is and why you want to be a mentor through Everwise versus maybe your alumni association or anything like that. And also let people get back to Everwise. Right now, the only thing you can click through is the privacy policy, which in fact looks like a broken link, but let's check that. But I can't actually get to, yeah, this is a broken link. Make sure you have this whole thing here. You need your https://. So there's a bug right there. You want to make sure people can get to your site, I imagine. I mean, if you don't want traffic, that's cool. But I would definitely link these to the actual Everwise site. And that might give people even more context and more trust in what's going on here. So the last thing I always check, because we are about at our 15 minutes, I think, for this, is mobile. So let's just, give this a whirl. Okay. So I don't think this is completely mobile optimized. Let me just check this on a phone, because sometimes this view can be a little wonky. But at first glance, it does not seem mobile optimized. So get everwise.com. Sorry, you can't see it at the moment. I'm literally just typing into my phone. It's a good thing people are clicking a link. This is a tough one to type. Okay. So I don't know if it's this LinkedIn button that's breaking it, but let's just see what happens when it loads up on my iPhone. Because if it's not mobile optimized, that's definitely an issue I would address before you launch it. A lot of people are, if they're coming from Facebook or LinkedIn, like the majority of people will be coming through on a mobile device. So if it's not optimized there, that would be really, really crappy for them and for your conversion. So either my internet's slow or this site is really slow to load, which is unfortunate in both cases. But I'll come back to that. I'll leave it to load and go on to the next one. So just to summarize this one while I'm waiting for maybe some questions to come through. Contrast, definitely a huge one. Just doing a bit more around sizing and having some text stand out more than others. You have this Y is actually bigger than the celebrate, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you have a lot competing, like 3 big things competing for attention right here. None of them sort of answer a question at first. And that's kind of it. I think this is a solid landing page. Like, there's clearly a lot of good copy that went into this already. So on to the next one. So this next site, the goal is to sell, oh, I don't think that's supposed to look like that. I'm not sure what happened. This site didn't look like this before, so let me just refresh it to make sure it works. Okay, I'm going to talk through this as if this is actually the speed at which it loads, because if so, that's an important issue. So this is Well Fits You. It is, I'm possibly going to butcher your name, but it's either Roswitha or Roswitha. I'm going to go with Roswitha. Sorry about that. Okay, it loaded full size this time. So, Well Fits You. Let's dive into this one. So the goal for this site is to encourage more people to become one-on-one clients. So I guess she's a coach or consultant of some sort. And in her email, she also mentioned that she has a book she's trying to sell. I'm not positive if that's part of becoming a consultant, like if you get the book first, or rather a client, if you get the book first and then become a client, or if you're perfectly happy with one or the other. I imagine you want everyone to funnel in from the book to be a client. But let's just do a first glance at this and see what happens. So this is a video. I'm just cookies. Okay, yes, I accept. Thanks. So my first reaction here is that, oh, this is a video and I have to hit play, which is odd, I think. It's not your typical experience for having a video up top, and when I hit play, it doesn't seem like anything's happening. So I'm not sure if that's a bug or just my computer being funny. But if this is a video, there are ways to make it autoplay without having to hit this button. I wish I could see what this video did. Let's maybe just full size it and see if that helps. No. Okay, so this video seems to be broken. But if it is indeed a video that maybe has a loop or something, consider just letting it play automatically. There's a lot of sites that do this that you can look at as an example. I think InVision has it. Let's see. I'm pretty sure that, unless they change it. Yeah, this is it. So they have a video that autoplays. So I haven't touched anything, and this video just sort of plays on loop. And then if I hit play, it brings up a different video, I think, which is sort of their, yeah, they have a longer version of the video with all the sound and everything. So if you're looking to do something like this, definitely consider autoplay. Because right here, oops, that's the wrong screen. With this, it's unfortunately a bit of an awkward setup where, you know, I think I should be Oh, it started. Okay. Apparently you can't hit the actual play button for it to work. So let's see. Okay. So it looks like it is supposed to be a loop. Yeah, if this is the case, and especially with that jolt at the end, I would definitely just make this a loop and have it play over and over There's ways to make it loop nicely. You can Google that and have it autoplay. Maybe put a little bit of filter on it too, just so it shows up better against this text. Again, just like before, this text sort of gets lost. You have this nice big button here. It's really legible. But I think it gets lost in this because I'm so focused. Okay, first thing I do when I come on this site is I see, okay, there's this big bar of colors here, there's this pink button here, and then, well, it's gone now, but there was that play button. And there's a lot, it seems to be asking me to do a lot when I first get here and I don't even know what's going on. So if you could figure out, I know this is AppSumo, so if you could, or SumoMe, if you could figure out how to get that to only display lower on the page, I think that would help. And then with the autoplay, that play button would be gone, so that would also help. And then focus on making this text a little bit bigger. I think it could afford to be like twice the size of what it is now. Let's see. Alright, well, you have to play with some of the spacing and things like that, but just to give you an idea, you don't want it blocking your head, but it could definitely afford to be bigger. And then the next thing you ask is to get my free chapters. I'm not entirely sure what I'm getting free chapters of. I assume it's this book. I'm not entirely sure what the book is about yet. So maybe save that button for a little bit later and use this space to describe the book a bit more. You have to think about what you want people to do as your first task. You have a lot of things here. Here's a click here, here's a freebie, here's a button, here's a button, here's a bunch of buttons. And I believe I closed the accept cookies button before. So that's what, 5 or 6 buttons. And that's a lot for someone to handle the first time they're landing on your site. So really try and like hone that down. What's the first thing you want someone to do? The first question they're asked is, why am I here? What is this giving me? So answer that question. After that, what do you want them to do? What is your goal for the user? Focus on that. I haven't even scrolled down to the rest yet to really parse that, but I think what we need to do here is make it a bit clearer that you're an author, which you have here, and you're a coach, cool, that you've written this book and you would like them to purchase that book. Or you can skip that, you would like them to purchase that book till lower because you haven't actually provided any value yet. So asking them to buy something without providing any value up front is a tough one. I imagine if you were to have, if I were to be able to see your analytics for this, that this button might not convert very well. Or let's just see what happens when I click it. Okay, so they might click it and close out. I'm not really sure what your actual numbers are, but I imagine that there's not enough context and not enough information here for someone to say, give me this thing. Always think that people are coming to your site as if they've never seen it before and have no idea who you are. They're probably, ideally, if you have good SEO running, they're coming from Google, they're coming from places that might have mentioned you. They don't necessarily know who you are and what you do. So start there with a blank slate, describe, what is your key thing that you want them to know about you? And I don't know if it's this crossed out thing, overwhelmed. I think that's a bit tough to parse too. Really think about what your main line, what your main point to them is, and what question or what problem you're solving for them, and then go into the rest. So big headline, I think this is actually perfectly sized here with a larger headline. The balance would be really nice. And then save your button, and actually every time I click the rest of this thing starts to play. So having that autoplay would really just help on some like strange interaction issues. And maybe down here you hit learn more and it just brings you down further on the page. Okay, so now it would be amazing to be able to close out this hello bar. Again, there's a lot of things sort of blocking the view here. And there's this guy, which I don't even know what that, okay, that's bring back to top. I know I can close this because I'm an AppSumo or SumoMe user, but I think there's a lot going on that you're asking people to do all the time. So being able to X out of this would help. From there, I just want to make sure this is working. Okay, sorry, it's not showing me the preview anymore. I wanted to make sure it didn't get lost. So, all right, now we have this section is great. It might be a little too much text for here. You're not answering enough up here to warrants this text about you. This might be a little bit better further down the page when I know a bit more about what it is you're trying to give me. I just want to look at the rest of the page to see if maybe just rearranging these sections might help. Okay, who do you really want to be? Get the first 3 chapters of my book. It's free and it's for you. Cool. You have a blog. Is this how you feel? Okay. What do I stand for in this world? If you feel inspired, join me. Support. Can I click that? No. Every purchase you help these charities. Oh, that's cool. Okay. It's actually his diary, buy, donate. So I guess from this section you donate a portion of your profits to these 3 charities, which is cool. I think you could do a little bit more around refining that message. You know, how much goes to them, at what increment, why have you chosen them? I think I'll get back to that. I want to focus on the upper part because I don't feel like I know enough about you and what this book does before we even get to the whole charity bit. So I think this section actually is more important than this section to be your second view. I think this is exactly the question that people probably have, like, what is going on here? And this sort of answers it. So this book is for you if you want to. Great, now I know why I'm on this site, and I know if this site is for me, and if this book is for me. This is super important, because if you get here and like, oh, cool, here's, I'm not even going to try and say your name because I'm going to butcher it so bad, and I hate when people do that. So here's this lovely woman who wrote this book, or actually don't even know you wrote a book, she's holding a book. Here's this lovely woman, nice photo, there's a cupcake, that's cool, I like cupcakes. But I don't even know what's going on here. Whereas if I come in here and, you know, maybe work on the design a little bit, get your headline a bit bigger, a bit more balance between the book and the text, but go from that first, you know, video headline thing to, here's my book, here's who it's for, here's, you know, if you fit this description, this book is awesome for you and it will make your life better. Get into that as soon as you can. And then go into your as seen on. There's your social proof. Done. And then from there, you can go into who you are. I feel like starting out with who you are isn't going to help anyone answer questions about why they're on this site. So there's that. Let's just, what happens if I do this? So I just click this button. Okay, so this is where you get people into your client thing, or your coaching or consulting work. Cool. I'm not going to go into this page. It's just too much for one session, because I really want to be able to focus in on what we can do here for you. So if we move this section up here, let's just do it. Let's give myself a bit more space to work with. Okay, cool. So we have this section. So fun fact, you can rearrange your website. Sometimes it's a bit finicky, especially with larger things, but let's just see if I can do it. Come on. I find it's a lot easier to test things in the browser than to go in and recode it all and see if I like it. So let's just hope that worked. Okay, not quite. Either way, we're getting closer. We've moved this up a bit. If I could drag and drop this, it'd be a little bit easier, but let's just go back to the top. So we have section 1, this video, we've already talked about it. Section 2, who, what, answer the questions for them. What's going on here? What is this thing? What is your value proposition? What is the problem you're solving for them? Get that all up front. So throw that in right here between this video. And one other issue, this video keeps moving. So I think you're having video issues in general. If this is the case, and test it on a couple of different browsers, test it on mobile, things like that. If this video keeps getting funky like this, you might have to just sort of toss the idea and go for a photo. It's better to have something that works all the time than something cool that works some of the time. So if you can't get this to sort of work with any consistency, unfortunately, I think it might have to be replaced with just a still screen of that video or something else entirely. So go back into this. You have answer your questions, articulate the problem. That's the first thing you do. Cool. Make it relatable. You want to, this is awesome here. I think you answer that question. Like why am I here? Is this for me? Perfect. So then you want to solve the problem for them. And that problem is the book. Actually, on this, you never say how much this book costs or how I can buy it. Is this a button to buy the book? No, it's a diary. I think, based on the URL. Okay, that is also not a way to buy the book. So there is no way for me to buy this book. I don't know if that's because you want everyone to go through your funnel before they buy the book, but if I were selling a book, I would want people to buy the book on my website and not block them from doing that until they get through a funnel. If your end goal is to sell the book, sell the book. So free chapters are cool, but definitely, if I'm going to get these free chapters and then find out this is, a $45 book, I don't know that I'd even be interested in the free chapters because maybe that's out of my price point. Or maybe it's a $9.99 book. Well, that's a completely affordable price. I would definitely spend $9.99 to find out more about what you have to say. So let people buy the book right here. Put a nice little price sign here, $9.99, or I'm making up a number because I have no idea. Is this a link? No, it says available. Okay, if I hover here, it says available on Amazon, but I still can't figure out where to buy it. Or how I can actually get to it from this site. One other thing that's just kind of a strange interaction is you have these tooltips. This should be a link. I should be able to click this. If you have a different color, this is a very odd interaction, and it won't work on mobile. People don't, well, unless they click it and think it's a link, and that's a frustrating experience. You want to give people what they expect to happen, unless you're, blowing their mind with something cool and different. The convention for having something like this is that it's a link and not a tooltip. So if you're going to do a tooltip, usually you do a dotted underline to indicate that that's going to be a tooltip. So try and, follow conventions as much as possible so that you don't frustrate your users because they're, oh, I can't buy this book. I'm over it. I'm leaving. So who do you really want to be? We're done with this section. Move it up. I think I'm not going to go into copy again just because there's a lot of copy on this page and I want to be able to sort of hit the high level for you as much as I can because I think that'll just give you a leg up to begin with, and then the copy is just tuning from there. So go with this section as your second section, your scene in as your third section. Now from there, this whole rest of the site has a whole bunch of different things that you want people to do that are somewhat unrelated to the book. So take a step back and think strategically, like what is the funnel, your ideal funnel? Like when you get someone to become a client of yours, what's the ideal path they take? What information do they come equipped with? What do you want them to, do you want them to become a client like as soon as humanly possible? Or do you want them to sort of spend some time, get to know you, figure out if you're a good fit, and then sort of opt in to the bigger package or your client work, which there's a free session, so that's cool. You already have that as a step in. I feel like once you get past this book section, and maybe the blog can fit in there, I'll get back to that later, this whole thing down here becomes just a lot of information that maybe belongs on secondary pages. This is cool, this purchase. I'm not sure, and actually now I'm not even sure if this purchase, buy, donate thing is associated with this book. Blah, 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 reading. So now that I'm reading a little bit more of this, I'm actually not entirely sure if this is a book with content or like a workbook kind of diary thing, or if that's a separate product from what's down here and the thing I clicked before that brought me to the diary. So there's a lot of confusion around like what the actual products you have are. And I'd like you to sort of carve them out and give them priority. So is your number one this priority this book? I imagine it is. It's the first thing you have on here that's really huge. And you wrote a book. Like, that's a big deal. Sell the book. All the rest of it is sort of secondary. You're giving free chapters. There's your lead magnet. I don't know that all this other stuff is necessary on this page. I think this is perfect. Keep this guy. I don't think this makes any sense on this page. I understand that this is probably a tooltip, isn't it? Yeah. So I understand that you want to be maybe a mission-driven or value-based company. I totally get that. I'm on the same page. I have my own values and mission for my company. But I don't know that that's necessarily a homepage element, especially when you have so many other competing things. This might be a whole page into itself where you talk about, and you might, in your blog, you might even talk about this, your philosophy behind your life and how it's impacted your view on being young, creative, and overwhelmed. Try and integrate them a bit more. This reading is very like disjointed ideas. Just because there's different sections doesn't necessarily mean you can go into a different idea entirely in each one. There needs to be a thread through them. So I think if you rearrange that top section, bring this subscription button. This is fantastic. Maybe change the copy. I haven't read it specifically. Please get rid of the tooltips. I think it's clever that you have like cute little copy there, but these things look like links, especially when it turns into a hand. That looks like you should click it. So it's very confusing to users to I would oh no, there's something wrong with this website. I can't click this, even though it turned into a hand. If you feel inspired, let's change the world. Personally email you. Okay. Yeah, this is awesome. This guy should be up higher. So let's go back to the top. We have your video. Then we go into your book. Then your scene in. I think from there you could afford to go into this about me section. But I think you could even wait on that and go into maybe one more section about the book that's separate from this. Maybe a bit more about the cost or what prompted you to write it, or just something that's a bit more descriptive, just to give it another space for people to sort of get captured by it, and then go into your subscribe button. And I think you're set for that page. Put one more buy button on the bottom, and then go into latest for the blog. I would actually leave this at the bottom of your site. This is the last section, and all the rest of this, again, I'm not entirely sure what's going on with this charity section and whether that's directly relevant to the book or whether it's more of a general business practice or whether it's specific to this diary. If it's not specific to the book, put it on its own page. I think your whole mission-driven page could be, here's what I stand for. Here are some awesome charities that go with that. Every purchase you make helps these charities. And then you can just have one little section that looks like this. On the main page it says, I believe in a mission-driven life, or whatever you want to say. Here, learn more about how well fits you as a mission-driven company, or what charities we support, or your purchase of my products supports these charities. Learn more. Something super simple, really small like this, that goes to a learn more page that has this whole other section, organizations, this thing, and your mission. All that on its own section, its own page. And I think this page will be a lot clearer. Yeah, I think you just need to hone down what's going on and what you want people to do. And if you make this whole front page about the book, and then, right before the bottom, you have buy the book again, and after that show the blog, or maybe right before the blog you say, curious about here are some of our other products, and you highlight the diary, and I saw a couple of other things pop up when I was clicking around. Whatever other products or services you have, your coaching services, highlight all of those in a separate section, a smaller section that just sort of says bing bang boom, learn more, and each one of those gets their own page that's super tailored to that product. And I think you'll have nice conversion based on that. I just want to go into the blog one last as one last element. So these are images, I think. Yeah, these are, oh no, I clicked it. So these are images, and there's no, why can't I actually highlight anything here? Is this a big image? Oops, okay. One more try. Okay, now I can highlight things. So this is an image. You don't actually have the headline here anywhere, so that's, I mean, if I'm not going to go too much into SEO, but that's not awesome for SEO or for screen readers or anything that's accessibility oriented. You know, if people with disabilities are, you know, having trouble reading, this is actually also very small text, so even just anyone who might even need glasses would have a hard time reading this. You know, this gets sort of washed out and hidden, and you see these images, but you don't know what to do or why to read more. So I would maybe use a photo or something different, like this is a bit better, and so is this, and put an actual text headline in this white space that says why meditation is overrated. Put that in actual text with a link, and that'll be a lot easier for people to parse. Alright, so once again, the last thing I do on any site, which should probably be the first thing, honestly, now that mobile is so big, but click that, oh boy, okay, that can't be true. There's no way. I'm just going to check this on my phone like the other one. This viewer just might be giving me some issues. So just checking the mobile optim. Okay, yeah, it definitely looks way better on my phone than this view. Sometimes this view can be kind of wonky, or things like headers and things like that can break it. Okay, so just looking at the mobile, I'm sorry you can't see what I'm looking at here, but between all the banners that pop up when it first loads, all I can see is well fits you, a search bar, and are you feeling overwhelmed? I'll screenshot that and send it maybe later. Or actually, I wonder if I can swap to this mode and just show you the screen. We have a pop-up, your header, sort of your video, and then 2 more pop-ups. So there's that much space showing where I can actually see your website. So you can do some things to optimize this. You can make the font smaller, or you can not show it on mobile. Same is true for these two. But in this case, like, you have to click out of 1, 2, 3 things before you can even see your website, which is really unfortunate. And even when I start scrolling and I get rid of that, like, this is all the space I have to work with. It's just hidden behind all this stuff, and I can't even hit those buttons because they're blocked. So definitely just do a little bit of tweaking on mobile. Now there's a bit more space to work with. I know with AppSumo or SumoMe, whatever it's called, you can control it so that it only shows when it's scrolling. So that would save you some space there. And let me just do one quick look at this. Okay, everything else is mobile optimized for the most part. It scales down nicely. So everything that I said earlier applies here, which is just rearrange your sections, focus your users in on what you want them to do, which I assume is buy your book. I know in the email you mentioned that you want people to sign on to your coaching services. That's not even mentioned on this homepage, so if you want to go there instead of the book, you just have to rearrange the entire thing. Use the same basic structure I laid out earlier, but swap all the book stuff for your coaching stuff. And that's it for this one. Again, I apologize that the chat's not working, but if you have questions, you can feel free to email me after. Cool. So that is well fits you. And I think there's a lot, like, the basics are all there, the foundation's there, it just needs to be rearranged and cleaned up, which is a great place to be. It means that there's not a ton of work to be done. You have all the information, which is usually the hardest part to do. It's the presentation, and that's pretty straightforward. Rearrange, focus, focus, focus. And that's it. Cool. So unfortunately, this is time has run out. I can't believe that went so quickly, and I apologize again for the technical errors we've had. I'm going to try a different system entirely for next month. I think despite all that, we were definitely able to dive into each of the sites and the issues and opportunities to be able to improve them to get you to your goal. So that's all I have for you this month. Thank you again so much for joining. If you like this UX audit, please, this service, this free monthly thing, I'm going to be doing it every month, if not more. I enjoy doing it, so I might do it more than once a month, but at a minimum, it'll be once a month. So if you like this and you know anyone who has a site that they'd like to improve, send them a link, send them to mostlybrilliant.co/live UX audit, and then get them signed up, and I'll be doing this once a month. I love seeing new sites, or even if you have huge changes between this month and next, like resubmit your site, we can go through it again. The one last thing I'm going to mention is the full UX audit I do, which is a full report of your entire site. Until tomorrow, actually, today's the 28th, today is the last day to get it for $700. Normally it's $1,000, but for my third anniversary of Mostly Brilliant, I've offered a $300 discount. So if you want the full UX audit where I dive into your entire site and give you like specific actionable items, screenshots, specifics of wireframes, things like that, where I give you the report of exactly what you can do across your whole site to make your experience better, make you reach your goals, etc. That's available on mostlybrilliant.co/services. You can get the information there, and that's it. Again, only available until the end of the day today. It's going, so a couple hours to decide if you want that. Thanks again for joining, and I hope to see you next month.